evening here, YouTube. Good evening. It's Beck here from So Be Curated, and I am doing a video in evening light, which I don't like to do because I want to start stitching, and I had kind of thought that this as something I wanted to show for people that are wondering how I go about doing the needle books that I love to do. I've just been at the Maitland Biennial Quilt Exhibition, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I haven't had a lot of time for stitching, so myself, and I'm itching to stitch, basically. I am desperate to do some stitching, and this is what I want to work on. So I thought I'd do this bit in bad light. Apologies, just so that I can start. Now, this is a beautiful old lingerie bag. I got it for my birthday. I bought it from an Etsy seller. It's really lovely. And why I'm using this instead of, say, a horsewhip is because I've got quite a lot of things in here. I'm just going to pull them all out to start with. Everything that's in here. That's all of it. I like how I've managed to put some scissors in there. They're my favourite scissors. These are my favourite scissors. They're Karen K Perfect scissors if I'm cutting big pieces of fabric, which I think I will need to do for this. Now, this pile of loveliness I've been collecting this for a little while in the corner of my desk, and it will make more than one needle book. And I just wanted to show how I go about collecting things and kind of thinking about how they might go together. And then I'm going to show you how the stages that I go through to make a needle book. So the things that I've collected so far are some beautiful vintage yo-yos. And I think these are out of three different quilts. So that one's out of that flower quilt, which is just beautiful, but I actually, with this one, will show the back of it, which, I mean, this is just beautiful. Have lovely linen hand towel with some applique work on it and some embroidery, which I really like. I actually really like the pink border, just that tiny bit of drawn thread work as well. Part of, I think it was a hanky. I think that's a very fine linen. I've used part of that in one of my other needle books. This is part of my daughter's sheet. She had linen base sheets and the centers of them wore out, but the bit down the side of the mattress was still really good. So I have reclaimed that at points to make things with. Just some other little bits of linen that I've put to the side, cut off things. This one, because look at the lace here. Just really stunning. Something I've made at some point and then not used, but look at that fabric, just gorgeous. Another kind of half a hanky, but a ripped piece. Now, to me, that's even better than the non-ripped piece. Beautiful vintage lace. Another piece of kind of lace. I think I bought this from England, actually. Really love this kind of thing. This is feels like organza, but like it's a natural fiber, and that will be lovely in there. Another piece of beautiful vintage lace. Now, both of mine are quite marked up, and I love that. Part of a sauce bottle holder with this little duck, which I think is gorgeous. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The coloured doilies just speak to me, and this one with its simple little blue daisies and that black stitch work, just beautiful. A pink sandwich tray, cloth that has been got drawn thread work and some cross stitch, tiny bit of a cutter quilt, little bit of trim. Look at this tiny bit of fabric that I've cut off at some point, but I think that's just stunning, and I'm going to include it somehow. This was part of an applique, I think. But look how cute that is. That's going to go in. I've collected some wool felt, but there is one more thing that I'm going to add to this pile of like base, the starter that I'm starting with. So these are wool felts that I've collected or been gifted. Like I think this one came from my friend Helen, who came to the Green Door classes that I taught, bought, well, this was actually a freebie when I did some buying, and it's just, it goes like this. It's just divine. This is going to be the exterior of one of the Needlebooks. Like, it's just really beautiful. These little bits of fabric are gifts from the vintage fabric. No. I'm going to find out who she is. I've forgotten her Instagram handle just now. Vintage cotton fabric, I think she is. And she gifted me these, and then I sent her back some other stuff, which wasn't as good, but like the best I could do. These beautiful fabrics that she's been collecting for years and years and years, and they are just divine. Little bits of fabric left over. So some point I've just pinned that together, and I think I might make a really tiny needle book as well. So I'm going to make a few needle books out of this. This is not what you need for one needle book. It's for a few. Another piece of linen. It's a lovely napkin that's got drawn thread work I really like. A couple more yo-yos. Probably a couple more quilts in there. A little bit of a fabric tape measure. Sorry, something's going on outside. I'm just going to see what. A pure linen, Irish linen hanky, little bit of this trim, and this rickrack, which is just divine. I put some of this in some kits at one point, but this was the little bit that I saved at the end. And look at even the card that it's on. Now, to this, I will probably add little bits and pieces as I go along, and it's not going to make just one needle book. I'm going to start playing with it and put those things together to form a number of needle books, and I'll come back at that point once I'm happy with how they are. They won't be stitched together at all, and they will not be finished. I'll show you the next little bit. I'm also going to add in some wool felt, some felted wool from Sue Spargo, which I really love in needle books. It's really a pleasure to stitch with. So it's still terrible nighttime lighting. I'm sorry. I've put together a number of things. Just in the last couple of hours, I've been really enjoying doing it. And I'm going to show you what they are in the light tomorrow. I've just, including a collage as well. I just popped on to show you this because I'm going to stitch it right now while I watch something on TV with my husband. I'm going to make this very tiny little needle book like this. So I just wanted to show you this while it's completely unstitched together. It's just got pins in it holding it together. Very simple. So this wool felt is really thick and solid. So it's got a lot of weight to it. I'm also going to, so that's going to kind of, I'm going to seam down the middle internally here, and it's going to catch this piece of wool felt, which will give the back cover some more weight, but on the front, it's going to be attached to this part. Now, I've also just added on that lovely little bit of, I'm not even sure what that is really. I'll get a better light for you. Is that better? And then there's a little bit of lace here as well, which I'm just going to attach here. It won't be a pocket. Maybe it will be a pocket. Maybe it will be a pocket. And I'm going to do a stitch along the back through here, joining these two together so they overlap with just a vertical stitch that can be seen there. I'll show you this tomorrow because it'll be finished, and then I'll show you in the light how the other things are going. Okay, so it's the next day. It's actually afternoon. I've probably missed the best of the light, so we're getting afternoon light here. I've stitched that together, and you can see here, just that little line of vertical stitches, which I quite like. I've also got, from the front, you can see a blanket stitch around 3 edges. This side, the fabric wraps over. And I did that with a Pearl 8 variegated wool, and I really like the look of that. And then where it folds over, I've just got like an edge that's held in place with some stitching. That stitching there Doesn't come through to this side because I did it on purpose prior to joining the felt to the exterior piece. It's got a couple of needles in it. I've just done a little bit, done some little tiny stitches with the thread that I like to use for any handwork, which is Metla thread, a 60 weight silk finish cotton. And I've just kind of put that on. And because this felt is so nice and thick, it didn't come through at all. I was able just to kind of stitch it on through the center, I guess, of that felt. I've kind of rounded out the corners there. You can see in the middle, sorry, that there's the line where I've attached it, and the knot like here and here, or here and here actually, that's hidden in between the layers. My back piece also attached to the fabric at the back there. I didn't end up making that a pocket, so that is attached with that same Metla thread, and it's really tiny. I am actually going to do, rather than a ribbon or something on this one, I'm going to do a little thing that comes around and put a button on there. You can go and find one in a sec. And that is how little it is. So like, you know, just in the palm of your hand. And it's very cute. I really like it. I just, like, I think I kind of pinned that together in the collected pieces that I had because I didn't want to waste that little bit of fabric, and I just think that's the sweetest thing. So, you know, tiny needlebook. So out of the things that I collated, I have a couple of bits and pieces. Hold on, I'm just going to get these together. Okay, I wasn't planning on doing a collage, but it turned out that I just needed one. So this is on a hand towel that has been folded in half, and I might just do it on that for some extra weight. I'm not sure. I might cut it in half and use the linen at the back for something else, but I do quite like this bit down here. I think that's just a bit of thread that's kind of funny there. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, that's the applique that was on the hand towel. And then I've just pinned in place a little composition that will be added to with lots and lots of stitching and some weaving. I've cut this out of a beautiful linen piece that I had. These two bits are very like bits that have been cut off something else and left behind. This little piece here came from the exterior of this piece, but I just kind of wanted them not together, I guess. And then I really like this little, it's very simple, vintage kind of embroidery piece. And there's two bits of it. And then one of those vintage yo-yos that I showed as something I was wanting to work with. So there's that. There's my little needlebook. I've got 3 needlebooks out of what I've planned. Right, it's upside down. So then this is my middle-sized needlebook. So all that I've done at this point is just kind of collated it into how it will be as a book. So I've got an external piece. I've got some batting, leftover batting from a quilt, and then so I'm going to kind of stitch those together, probably with some cantha stitching, and I might actually add some embellishment onto here, especially because here the piece of fabric is quite stained, but not sure. And then eventually that will go together with this piece of blue felt, and it'll be blanket stitched around the exterior. And I've just added that same trim that's in my little needlebook, another yo-yo, a little piece of vintage embroidery, and then this is part of what will become a quilt pocket, a pocket there, and I've just pinned it there, and it will actually end in the center, but I'm not exactly sure where that center is going to be at the moment because this is just a rough layout. Then on top of that, I've got that half of a hanky, and I've folded that over so that it's a little pocket there. Another half of the hanky, some more wool felt. You can have a piece of this lovely kind of cut work and embroidered piece. Now I've just trimmed that down. That actually had the beautiful fine linen like here up here, but I've just trimmed it down to kind of take advantage of that beautiful shape that's in there. And in the center of my needlebook, I'm going to have this whole doily. So that will get seamed through the center. There'll be this, some wool felt. This part of the hanky with the blue trim ends up with a pocket on this side, some more of this hanky, and then this bit of beautiful old quilt with some beautiful hand stitches there will become a little pocket in the back, and then that beautiful fabric on the back. So that's my medium-sized needlebook, and I think I'm going to use that as the trim, partly because it's beautiful and partly because it's kind of simple beautiful. So this is quite a simple design. It's got a nice weight in my hand. And the first step before I put any of that together is to kind of cancer stitch or attach the batting to this beautiful exterior fabric. And then I'll go and do the seam through the center as the next step. And I'll show you where I'm at with that. But it might be another video. And then I've also planned out a large needlebook. So on the front of this one, I've used a vintage yo-yo and this beautiful fabric, and I'm just going to kind of make a little rosette, which I'm really liking, and I'm going to tie it, kind of pull this together with some embroidery floss and put this gorgeous little vintage button on. So it's going to be a little rosette on the front there, and then that's going to open up. Now this wool felt intentionally doesn't come all the way to the end. I quite like that, the little seam of that vintage fabric coming over. Then I've just folded up a doily so that this will become a pocket there. So this will be loose and it will be stitched down here and here, but there'll be a flap over the top that is loose. It's just pinned at the moment to keep it all together. Got a hanky that's got a beautiful bee on it, and I've just added a little bit of the fabric from this one in there and some vintage yo-yos. I've just folded over the top. That won't be a pocket. It's just, it gives it a bit more weight and a little bit of interest. Piece of felted wool that I bought from the Sydney Quilt Show, I think from Hatched and Patched. And that goes all the way through. And then this is a page that just goes halfway, so we'll be caught in the middle. And then this is going to be the middle. It's kind of pinned funny at the moment, so you can't open it. This will be the middle of my needlebook with this lovely doily with, I'm really loving this cut work and kind of embroidery. And this is kind of a mustard and light pink, which is very stunning. And I'm going, this part of it will be loose, and this part will be attached down to this beautiful kind of cut work and embroidered kind of serviette, I think, which will have two pockets, one this side and one that side. And to attach that down, I will need to do that part of the stitching before I seam down the side here, so that when I'm doing it, I can pull it back and do it. So you've got to think about what part needs to come first. Then I'm just going to have folded in here, caught in the seam, this lovely, I think this is beautiful. And I'll probably put something at least down the edges. I will trim this one off, but I just don't want to trim too little of it off, because a little piece like that will be used in something else. I like to use all the bits. And you can see I like to have like a bit of a theme going on sometimes when I'm making. So I'll trim those down when I know exactly how big my book is going to be. And I'll probably put a little bit of fabric to kind of catch the edge there and keep it all nice and caught in. And I might actually do that fabric along the edge just to kind of link the two projects together a little bit more. So these are just decorative pages, but, you know, just beautiful. Another bit of that wool felt that's coming all the way through. Another bit of that hanky that comes all the way through. Wool felt onto the back. Just put a yo-yo there to kind of show that I want to do some decoration on there. And then I've added just a little bit of kind of old linen to wrap around this edge. And I do that, I don't know why I do it. I just like it. So this one also has a beautiful weight, but it is bigger. Not but, it is bigger. So I'm going to end up with 3 needle books, big, little, and medium, and a textile collage from that selection that I showed you. I am planning to have a tie for this one with this beautiful rickrack. I'm planning on using some of this beautiful bright blue wool, and there will be more things added to these, but this is the first step. So when I come back to show you the next step, and it'll be in a different video, you will have the exterior of this. Well, I might come back with one of them first or not. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do first. The exterior of this will need to be stitched, and then I need to get that center seam in so that all the layers are caught in the needle books. And I'll show you where that is before I do anything else. Okay, happy stitching, everybody. Thanks for being here. Look out for part 2 of this series.